I give up. I simply give up. I am, as of this day onwards, no longer reporting about any news coming out of America. And I'm not saying this because the news is bad or, oh no, it's all negative. I don't want to do this. No. I just believe, truly, and this is coming from an American. I have a citizenship. I'm an American citizen. I believe Americans are genuinely too stupid to be saved at this point because they are a literal disease. And the fact that the current administration is still operating is an absolute mockery to democracy. It is the saddest excuse I have ever seen for presidency. And I just cannot believe the Americans are allowing this to happen. I don't care if you didn't vote for him. The fact that he is still your president is enough to just make me not respect the entirety of America. It is so sad. And just yesterday, again, my prediction has been proven correct, as it always is, where I said, hey, they're not going to release the Epstein files. Instead, look at this that they're doing instead to distract you. Well, you could say, no, you were wrong. They released the Epstein files. There were more pictures of Bill Clinton in there than there were of Epstein. And somehow, one of the most associated people with Jeffrey Epstein, Donald Trump, was not in those files a single time. Not even a mention. And you might say, you know what, cixthoo, you're being too partisan. You hate Donald Trump. This is why you hate the Epstein files. But look, they released a large Epstein files, what they called it. A large release of never before seen pictures and documents from the Epstein files. Blah, blah, blah. However you want to fucking phrase this garbage. The problem is that the American government is cosplaying a 20-year-old white girl during BLM because the only pictures you can find are just black squares. Over 90% of the Jeffrey Epstein files are redacted. That's including text. So only 10% of all the words in there are actual real words. And most of the times, they will release entire pages. I mean, there's an entire document section in the Epstein files that is just 150 black pages. Why do you even release this? Please tell me why you release fully blacked out pages. Or they will release a page. This is like, you're like, oh no, you're nitpicking. No, it's so dumb. It's so dumb. We'll see like a court document where it's like, the judge says black. And it will be fully blacked out. Not even like it's not like they're blacking out the names of the people involved. They're blacking out everything. There is nothing to see in these files. And this comes with the fact that just yesterday as well, and this is the funniest shit I've ever seen. I would genuinely be laughing my ass off if it wasn't the saddest show of might I've ever seen. There is a center called the John F. Kennedy Memorial Center for the Performing Arts, which was a center funded by the Kennedy family to honor a now dead president. That's why it's called the John F. Kennedy Memorial Center. I know what Donald Trump did. This is like when the teacher puts the F student with like a genuine mental disability on your group project, and you just tell him like, yo, just write the intro or something, and it will put your name like on the paper. This is the equivalent because he doesn't add funding to the center. He doesn't add a new like room. He doesn't expand. I mean, what am I even saying? Of course he didn't do anything. The only thing he did is he added his name. Now it's called the Donald Trump and John F. Kennedy Memorial Center, which I don't even know how this makes sense. Donald Trump isn't dead. It's just so bad. It is. It's not even the same font as well. They're using a different font for the Donald Trump text, and it's not like they added it next to his name. They put Donald Trump above JF Kennedy. So the first thing you see when you read this is the Donald Trump and JFK Memorial Center for Performing Arts. This is like a thing that I've had a problem with it for a while. It is that The Onion, you guys know the satirical news source The Onion, I've realized they've steered away from making political posts because so many of their old articles are just true now, and they just today released an absolute banger, which is the CIA realizes it's been using black highlighters all these years. I think I've made myself clear. It is truly just chicanery of the highest level, and there is not a more incompetent country right now in the entire world than America. They went from being the number one leading country on in every single field except education, because you can't buy that with power. Leading country, military, leading economy. They were leading back in like the 80s, 90s, maybe 90s, not so much anymore. They were a world superpower. And I don't know what they've done and how they've even possibly fucked up so bad. Again, I'm just ashamed to be an American. To see this happening and just know that 50% of the population agreed to make this happen. And you might be like, oh yeah, but when I voted for Trump, he ran on false pretenses. He said he was going to be the most transparent government in history. So, it's not my fault for believing him a second time. And you know what? You'd be like, I'd even give you the benefit of the doubt, I guess. Who knows? I don't agree with what he was running on to begin with, but maybe. Here's my problem, right? This absolute troglodyte still has, well, I can't call him a troglodyte because people are still voting for him. He has a 40% approval rating. 40. Do you know how insane that is? 40% approval. All of the while, he's going back on every single word. Again, he ran on being transparent, bringing down prices, and securing the border. Okay. Which one of these things has he done so far? Securing the border? No, he's just putting all the immigrants out instead of actually strengthening their borders and getting more funding or better infrastructure for the legal system to get all of the immigrants out who are here illegally. The reason why most of them are here is because the process to get them actually authorized to stay here or not is taking an insane amount of time. So the courts are they're held up. They can't do anything. They don't have funding. So there's a lot of people here waiting for their verdict. Affordability. Again, he ran on affordability. And even in his press conference on Christmas, he said, affordability is up. Affordability is up. And we're going to bring down medicine prices by 600%. Again, he's been saying that he's going to bring down prices since the day he was inaugurated, but they're up. They're up. I mean, you don't have to be some kind of math wizard to know this. Go to the grocery store. Try and buy a carton of eggs. And tell me if the prices are down. And the most insane thing is that every second press conference, he will say, affordability is our main goal. And then he'll come back the next day and just say, affordability is actually a scam. That's a word made up by the liberals. It is full-on Orwellian. Donald Trump will say whatever he wants, and it is actually just like the Ministry of Truth. Whatever he says is just the truth. He says affordability is a scam. Truth Social will be like, yeah, well, actually, I can still afford a house, so the other people must be lying. Affordability is up. It's way up. Well, affordability is a scam. Yeah, it's always been a scam. This is DEI. And then he'll say, fucking, Epstein files don't even exist. And they're like, yeah, this is all a liberal hoax. It doesn't exist to begin with anyways. Donald Trump literally said the Epstein files don't exist. After saying he's going to release them, after saying he has them, he says they don't exist. And then after saying they don't exist, he now releases them. And it's all Bill Clinton. I'm not going to say it because I'll get some kind of 80-year-old boomer who's being paid off of like veteran money in my comment saying, wow, kiddo, you don't know anything about economics. No, I'm a fucking human. I know stuff about how to be a human. This is not humane behavior. This is insanity. It is time that Americans change something, okay? I'm not saying how. But there needs to be change in America. You know, when I made the comparison about America right now, or the presidency right now, being like a bunch of 20-year-old white women during the Black Lives Matter protest where they just post a bunch of black squares. At least the intentions behind that were good. You know, they're like, you know what, I want to support this cause. The problem is that instead of supporting an oppressed minority that was getting abused, they are supporting pedophiles. They are full on, transparently, without a doubt, supporting pedophilia. That is that is the most insane stance I've ever seen a government figure take. And people still agree with this. People are supporting the fact that the American government is covering up pedophiles. And they're saying, yeah, well, you know, these are political figures and they might get exposed. What? What do you mean these are political figures and they might be exposed? For safety concerns, we're not releasing their face. Again, this isn't the victims, because the victims have been released. We know who the victims are. The victims went to court. They're not protecting the victims. They are protecting the pedophiles. It is just strange how Americans put up with this. This is the one and only time I will ever give France credit. And it is the fact that they, at least, you know, back in the day, when they saw their government being fully corrupt, defending corrupt people, and not doing anything to help people and just full on extorting them, you know, at least they did something. I just want to make my stance on this situation 100% absolutely crystal clear. I don't care for either political party. Actually, I hate both of the political parties. They both fucking suck. The last administration could have already released the Epstein files. You can't blame Trump's administration for not releasing them if the last administration also didn't release the files. Now, yes, there wasn't that much of a calling in the last administration, but they still could have done it. Who cares if pedophiles get exposed? Do it. The American minds have actually just been poisoned. And I say this in the most disgusted way I can possibly say it. And this comes from an interview that I recently heard about. I forget who it was. It was a pretty influential figure at, I'm pretty sure it was Meta, actually, talking about their algorithms. This is what he says. In the 90s to like the 2010s, there used to be a saying called sex sells. And that is still true, but what sells even more than sex is hatred. And not just hatred for something, hatred for another person, and even better, for another party. If there are only two positions you can take, and the other one is hatred, you will always take the one you're in right now. And you will defend it with your life because you have no other option. If option one says, hey, let's kill everybody, and option two says, hey, let's kill like 2,000 people just because it's fun, who are you gonna choose? This is how I see America right now. They're both controlled by corporate greed and are deeply corrupt. But you have to choose the lesser Hitler in this situation. You know what I mean? You guys just chose wrong in the last election. I don't know what to say. This is clearly not a good direction America is going in. And I don't know, human rights violations, Donald Trump multiple times just ignoring the law full on, making his own law, doing whatever he wants, breaking the law, like personally, not even just telling the military to break the law, personally also breaking the law, defrauding the American people through crypto schemes with his son as well, where there's like a story a while ago. Somehow, $100 billion counterbet is set to the crypto market, an actual shortage of the crypto market on the most stable coins in history. He starts shoring it up until exactly 1 hour before the news goes public. Must be a coincidence, man. Truly, our great savior and Lord Jesus Christ J. Trump would never do such a thing. And this is going to be my full-on last rant video because I'm going full out on personal opinion here. I hate fence sitting. It is the most disgusting thing ever to see a situation like this and be like, yeah, but I don't know. I guess they're just going to keep doing what they want to do. I can't really do anything. Give your fucking opinion. Say what you want to say. Don't be a coward, okay? It comes together with this entire religious fanaticism that is in the States right now, where it's like, oh, we Christians are being are being oppressed. We're being oppressed. Christianity is being taken away. It's like in 2026, they're going to outlaw being Christian. And it's just, it is the most insane thing. No one is hating on Christianity, okay? It is the most widespread religion. Donald Trump is not Christian. He expressly has stated himself that he isn't a Christian. He can't name any Bible verse. And people still see him as the second coming of Jesus Christ himself, and sometimes literally. I'm against most religious behavior is because it is like this forced fanaticism where if you want to be a Christian in this day and age, a full apologist Christian who believes every word of the Bible, you have to, in some aspects, just be truly insane and lack critical thinking. And I've said this before, and this is the only time I'll ever criticize my family, because I truly think this shows a lack of intelligence, where a part of my family actually believes there is a tiny man on people's shoulders whispering them evil thoughts. They think the devil is a actual real thing that talks to people and makes them do evil things. No, the opposing party doesn't just have other views, it is the devil who is whispering into their ears and is their moral and religious right to persecute the other side. It is the most insane thing. And I don't see this in Switzerland. No, I only see this in my American part of the family. And yes, I love them. They are good people, but they are brainwashed by America and by religion. And it is the most tragic fate ever to have fallen into this trap. Because you have two options once you're in this deep rabbit hole of being MAGA. And the one is you've defended this guy with your entire life, actually suckling on Donald Trump's teats for the last 8 years. If you go back now, you have no self-respect and you will be laughed at by everyone for the rest of your life. Every friend you have who is diehard MAGA will stop talking to you, and the people who are on the other side will laugh at you for being MAGA once. Or you just keep being MAGA, but then every day you keep being MAGA, you have to keep excusing this despicable behavior over and over again. It's just a cult. It is just a cult. America is one huge cult, and I am just done. I will no longer be posting any videos about anything to do with America, anything to do with AI, unless it's also including Europe, and anything to do with politics in general. I did this a while ago where I said I wouldn't be doing it, but there's just so many good news articles about this, and it gets me views. But it is just despicable, disgusting behavior, and I will not be engaging. I'll make one final reference, and it's to this guy who refused to debate an Israeli because Israeli is an apartheid state and he was strictly against apartheid, so any debate he would have had with this person would just strictly be on different moral values and he would never come to a conclusion. And this is the same thing here. And it's not because of moral values, it is because of intellectual values, and that I just don't think I can ever report on any American news while they are running this sham of a regime. Anything I say is immediately just, it's annulled, it is gone. There is nothing to say about this trash country. And I am actually just crashed out. I can't do this.